Alright, guys, so I saw something recently that pissed me the hell off. Current Chicago Bulls point guard and constant malcontent Rajon Rondo says that he's going to throw a lavish party for all of the members of the 2008 Boston Celtics team coming up, because coming up will be the 10-year anniversary of that 2007-2008 title team. And everybody is invited except for one person. That's the person pictured in this video. And this is what Rondo told a reporter with ESPN, guy by the name of Mark J. Spears. This is what Rondo told ESPN's Mark J. Spears. I asked a couple of the guys. I got a no head shake. That the consensus was almost all of them said don't reach out to Ray Allen. It'll be a long story about that, but it is what it is. I don't know a good analogy to put this in. It just wasn't the greatest separation. It wasn't the greatest thing that could have happened to us as a team, a bond. We were at war with those guys. Talking about Miami. To go with the enemy, that's unheard of in sports. Well, it's not so unheard of. It's damn near common now. The mindset we had, the guys on our team, you wouldn't do anything like that. It makes you question that series in the finals. Who were you for? You didn't bleed green. People think we had a messed up relationship. It's not the greatest, but it's not just me. I called and reached out to a couple of other vets and asked them what they wanted to do with the situation. They told me to stick with what we got, meaning without Ray Allen. For what it's worth, Leon Poe, a role player with the 2008 Celtics, said his preference would be that Allen is invited. Another anonymous member of the team said he had no problem with Allen's exclusion because Ray left to the enemy. Now, everybody knows how I feel about Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. Now, you have Kevin Durant, a player at his prime, arguably the second best player in the NBA. That's very arguable and debatable. But let's just say essentially he's the second best player in the NBA. He's the best scorer in the NBA. At the peak of his powers. Joining a team that does not need him. That was just in the NBA Finals. That just beat you and overcame a 3-1 series deficit to defeat your team in the Western Conference Finals. That's some snake shit to do. Especially considering the fact that you just had dinner with your teammates and gave them no indication whatsoever that you were going to leave to go to that team. Whereas Ray Allen, when he went to the Miami Heat, was, 36 years old at the time, I believe? A 36-year-old veteran who played with not only the Boston Celtics, but also the Seattle Supersonics and the Milwaukee Bucks. So he more or less was a journeyman veteran. Yes, he did win a title with the Boston Celtics, but he wasn't drafted to them. He was traded. I think he signed as a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he was traded. Was he traded or did he sign as a free agent? I think Ray Allen signed as a free agent. Garnett was traded. All right, so it's not like Ray had been playing years and years with this club, all right? Ray was on the downside of his career when he joined the Miami Heat. Now, was that him siding with the enemy? I'm pretty sure in some people's eyes, maybe it was. I know I get the sense that's probably how Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett felt. Hell, I remember an article years ago. Garnett said he lost his number. Talking about Ray, when he found out that he signed with the Heat, didn't want to talk to him anymore. But that's Garnett. You know, he has that warlike mentality. But you know what, though? My thing is, maybe Ray would have resigned with the Celtics had some of his teammates came out and squashed or helped to squash whatever beef there was between Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo. Because I would think that Ray Allen, at that time, was what? A 16-year NBA veteran, an NBA champion, a consummate professional who at that time had well over 20,000 career points. And here's Rondo, a guy who really hadn't really made a name for himself really quite yet. Okay, he was, Rondo at this point in time in his career is not the guy he was after all the injuries, right? But at that time, Rondo was a guy who was coming to his own. But I think that's very disrespectful the way that apparently he talked to Ray Allen and treated Ray Allen behind the scenes. They should have helped to squash whatever it was what happened between those two. Apparently, Ray Allen really felt disrespected by Rondo. Okay, there's always been accusations that Rondo is a fucking prima donna. He's a prima donna who doesn't know what to say out of his fucking mouth. Okay, I could just imagine some of the things that Rondo probably said to Ray Allen. It probably pissed Ray Allen off, and Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Leon Poe and James Posey and Eddie House and who else was on that team? Big Baby, I think was on the team. I think he was in that 08 team. Big Baby, Kendrick Perkins, and I just can't think of everybody right now, man. But Tony Allen comes to mind. Boy, that was a good team, though, man. But all those guys have to be in Ray Allen's shoes, and what he was dealing with whatever was bothering him between him and Rondo. And Rondo has a long track record of being a very hard person to deal with, a toxic personality. Look what's going on with the Chicago Bulls. I told you guys this was going to happen when you sign a guy like Rondo to the team. He's a toxic personality. Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce probably were able to put like a leash on that shit, but Rondo probably was to compensate, issuing all of his venom and directing it toward Ray Allen, who's apparently a pretty nice guy. That's probably what happened. A lot of people who are bullies or people who are toxic, they're not going to go toward the alphas like Garnett and Paul Pierce and some of these other guys, Perkins. They beat up on people who they perceive as nice guys. Ray Allen. Right? So that's what Ray Allen did. He fucking left. He went from a hostile environment and he went to the Miami Heat. If you want to say he was ring chasing, so be it. A player at that age was, at that point of his career, he was someone at the bench. I really don't give a fuck. See, the thing about it, guys, if Kevin Durant had pulled this shit 10 years in the future, 38 years old, ring chasing with the Warriors, I wouldn't have gave a fuck. Nobody cares when you're at the end of your career and you're chasing rings. That's what veterans do. Bill Walton was doing that toward the end of his career. All right? Barkley was doing that. Karl Malone started doing that. Everybody fucking does that. Everybody ring chase, you want to say that. Shaq was ring chasing, even though he had 4. He wanted 5 to catch Kobe. That wasn't the issue. And then the thing that really bothers me too about this whole situation, when I think of Game 6, right? When the Celtics clinched the 17th title, when they, eviscerated the Lakers. I think it was 130. What was the final score? 131-92 or something like that. I know it was a 39-point blowout. You know what I picture in my mind that game? I remember Ray Allen hitting 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 after 3. I think he went 7-9 from 3-point range in that game, if I'm not mistaken. He absolutely killed the Lakers in that game, right? We're not talking about a guy who was the last man on the roster. We're not talking about the sixth man. We're talking about Ray Allen, all right? A guy who was critical for that championship team. This is a guy who was ahead of Rondo, who was a rookie, who was green, and really didn't have that much of an impact on that particular team. Now, if you're talking about the 2010 Celtic team, which failed to win the title, Rondo had more say-so, in my opinion. But Rondo was not an integral part of that championship team. Ray motherfucking Allen was. In any celebration, in my opinion, that doesn't have Ray Allen on the team is a disgrace. I mean, enough is enough. There comes a time when time should be able to heal a lot of fucking wounds. You understand what I'm saying? All right? Time should be able to heal this bullshit. I'm going to tell you a little story, guys. Some of my little details may be a little fuzzy, but 1969 NBA Finals, right? That was the finals where the Lakers played the Celtics. And I think the series went 7 games. I think the Lakers had I might be misremembering this, but I think the Lakers had a 3-1 lead in that series. It looked like the Celtic dynasty was dead, right? I think the Celtics limped to a 48-34 regular season record or something like that. And surprisingly, they got to the NBA Finals. But like they were dead against the Celtics, the Lakers. And they were able to come back and force a Game 7. For some reason, Wilt Chamberlain took himself out of that game in the fourth quarter. Wilt said that he was really injured and was unable to continue. Bill Russell made a comment about that after the game because the Celtics were able to win that game and win the title. He said that there was no way in hell he would have taken himself out that game for any reason, and he insinuated that Wilt Chamberlain quit. He said some other nasty things about Wilt Chamberlain to the press after that series. Some nasty things about Wilt that actually really hurt Wilt Chamberlain because Wilt Chamberlain considered Bill Russell his friend, right? And after that series, Russell retired. Now, Wilt Chamberlain later theorized that Bill Russell kind of conned Wilt into making him think that they were friends so that when they played against each other, Wilt wouldn't give his all 100. You know what I mean? Like, Wilt was a very competitive guy, but sometimes when he liked people, he could kind of sometimes go a little easier. Wilt also was a person that was very aware of his physical strength, and sometimes he tried to play a finesse game because he didn't want to hurt people. But anyway, Wilt theorized that Bill Russell used that friendship to gain an advantage. While he played hard, Wilt didn't want to be as aggressive against his friend. You see what I'm saying? But then when Russell was out the league with his 11 titles in 13 years, Russell no longer had to worry about that, so he could voice his true feelings about Wilt. If I'm not mistaken, the animosity between these two men was so strong that they didn't talk to one another for 20 years. It wasn't until they started doing those interviews in the '90s where they would be, laughing and joking with one another that they started even talking again. But even then, they still weren't really friends. They were resentful of the younger sinners of the '90s, whatever. But they shared a common bond in that. But they still had a lot of, especially Wilt is concerned. He still felt a certain way that Russell never apologized for the things he said in the media. And it wasn't until a couple of years before Wilt Chamberlain died that they finally buried the hatchet. The point of this being is that this is a whole bunch of dumb shit, okay? This is a whole bunch of bullshit, and it's stupid. It's ridiculously stupid, okay? Pete Maravich died unexpectedly of a heart attack when he was only 40 years old, right? Only 40 years old when Pete Maravich died. These guys got to realize that these petty little things like this, it's stupid. Okay, I understand you being hurt. Okay, yeah, he joined the enemy in your mind. Okay, but that was 5-6 years ago. All right, this should be a celebration about that team, that championship team of that year. Okay. And Ray Allen was a huge part of the success of that 66 win team. If Adrian Dantley was able to get over the animus he feels toward Isaiah Thomas and appear on that 30 for 30 special about the bad boys, because you can't do a bad boy special without Adrian Dantley, right? He wasn't on the championship teams, but he was the integral part of those teams becoming a dominant team in the Eastern Conference in the NBA. If he was able to get over that, then Rondo, who, in my opinion, is a very overrated player to begin with, he needs to get over this stupid shit. Kevin Garnett needs to get over it. Paul Pierce. All of these lesser players who supposedly have this huge voice about a guy who was a 20-point per game scorer for result. You're talking about Ray Allen, man. You're talking about a guy who still until Stephen Curry surpasses him, is the greatest three-point shooter in NBA history. 2,973 three-pointers. Many of those threes were raining in the Boston Garden. Well, not Boston Garden. But you get what I'm saying. I'm going back to Bird, though, right? But many of these three-pointers raining for his tenure with the Boston Celtics, okay? My goodness, he broke the record while he had a Boston Celtics jersey on. I mean, if I'm rambling a little bit, man, it's because I can't believe how stupid this is. Like, this was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And you guys are still holding on to a grudge about this dumb shit? I'm telling you, man, sometimes these guys really have to think, man. They better, I mean, if something was to happen to Ray Allen, right? God forbid. Something happened to Ray Allen, right? How do you think they would feel about this years down the line? It's stupid. It's dumb. It's ridiculous. It's just absolutely just ridiculous, man.